All right, y'all. Gonna work on adding a cup holder to my 2024 Road Glide. I've got a parts list that I'll share with you, but here goes nothing. All right, so there's a cup holder, there's an extension bar, there's a ball socket here that will clamp, and then one here that I bought to put on the back side of this. You'll need to add your own bolts, nuts and bolts to it. I just scraped up whatever I had. I'm gonna eventually make it all black, and obviously I don't know how much that matters now since when this came, so the pictures on Amazon, I thought it was maybe black, but it is what it is. If it bothers me enough, I'll paint it or something, I don't know, but we'll get to it. All right, small update. I could probably just edit out the last piece and start over, but that's fine. This is the trials and tribulations of such a thing. I did get a set that's all black. The problem is, and the reason what prompted that is these holes are relatively small apparently, as well as these guys here, but I did drill these out. You can see this one's maybe not perfect, slightly oblong. I just went one drill bit at a size, started with the one that just barely fit in there, kind of ran it back and forth, just slid it back and forth in there, went up one size, did the same thing again, and then another until I got it in order to fit the bolts that I have. Those are slightly smaller than the ones I started with, and so that they fit in here, so I didn't have to drill this out at all, which is ideal. So that being said, next step, I'm gonna probably see if this bottom plate comes off with these 4 screws. I'm assuming so that I can take this off. I just tried unscrewing this all the way, and there's a point where it just stops, and I don't wanna, right there, I don't wanna turn too hard and possibly break it, but I was hoping that would pop off and then I could slide this out. So I'm gonna take this plate off instead and see what happens, or see if I can take it off for that matter. But the goal here is to be able to have access to the screw head here, because this will be on the inside right here. And we'll see if that'll enable that to happen. Otherwise, I gotta figure out how to get a screwdriver in there to make this work. All right, so I was able to separate the two successfully, very easily. Basically, the hex head there is what just slides out of there. So there's nothing really holding it together aside from the screws. So that's good. Now, also, I was going to mention, once you drill it, you can just take a razor to kind of deburr this just a little bit, just gently scrape across the top in both directions, and then reach inside there and kind of scrape it just gently so that you don't make it too messy. Obviously, you want this to look nice. You spend all that money on a bike, you want to make sure everything looks nice. So while this isn't perfect, I don't think this is enough for anyone to notice. I could probably put some sandpaper in there and clean it up a little bit more, but we're good for now. All right, so we got these screwed on. The position may change once I get it set up, but we'll see. For now, I just kind of went with this position. There's a little bit of room for adjustment up or down, however I need to. Just got to pick different holes. So that's where we are. So now we're gonna put it all back together and start putting the clamp on the bike, and I'll show you with as much detail as I can as to where that's gonna go. All right, so one added little tip here. Make sure that you go with the 1-inch ball. I know they have a smaller one, and I think they've even got bigger ones too. And the reason why I went with this guy, this stem in particular, this extension or whatever you want to call it, is not only can I, bend it in every direction, this can spin. Because we're in a tight space, I want to make sure I can position this however I need to, and that comes down to the ability to be able to spin this that way. So they could be both like that, one could be offset from the other, but at any point I can twist, turn them, and whatever. It's just gonna make install way easier. Hopefully that makes sense. But once it's on the bike, I think it'll make more sense. Also, these guys came, looks like, so these have some screws installed. These came with some longer ones, presumably for a larger clamp or a larger diameter pipe. I suspect I'm gonna be needing those for this, but we'll see. All right, so this part here, this is kind of what I was talking about with this guy here. Let me loosen this a little bit. Sorry, I gotta get some leverage here. There we go. So I can twist this. So right now, obviously I don't want this kind of facing out, right? It looks a little clunky, so I can just spin it around and tighten it however I need to, so it's out of the way. For now, I'm just gonna leave it like that because I've only got one hand. But the attachment point here is, if you look, here's your fork, here's your fairing. You got this little bar right here. And just above the bend is where I'm putting it right now. Obviously that may get changed at some point. But obviously I've got a lot of adjustability with the two different balls here to kind of adjust this and put it however I want. I'm gonna take my cup, put it in there, and use that as a measuring point. But there's nothing with it being a Road Glide, I don't have to worry about the fairing turning into it or anything else like that. So it's just a static point. Obviously, I got to make sure my leg is not going to, have any interference and that sort of thing as well. But we'll see how it goes. All right, there's the cup in place. As you can see, I hit the cranks on it here. Kind of get it back. I believe this will be out of the way of everything, but let me sit on it and we'll try it. All right, forgive me, obviously I don't wear shorts when I ride, but this is definitely way out of the way. I can reach over, grab it, take a drink, put it back. Probably have to tighten that up still a little bit more. But again, that's where the 1-inch ball comes into play. You want to make sure it's really snug so that I can't move. And those balls are very anti-slip, so that's good news. I just got to crank it down tight. All right, here's a pro tip. The reason why it turned, it wasn't because the ball was loose, like the clamp on the ball. It was actually the threading here. It's difficult to crank that on tight, so we're going to use some thread locker and get it on there good. Maybe get a pliers or something in there to be able to really crank that on tight. So I'll be back with that. All right, so what actually was sliding is I did not crank these down tight enough. So I guess make sure you really torque them really good. These guys actually weren't sliding at all. We're solid as a rock here. Now, the only catch is this cup is a little bit larger than what it's supposed to be in there. It works, which is great because this is like my primary tumbler that I use for whatever. But as you can see, it flails a little bit, and I can loosen this up and swing it out and keep it away to protect the tank. But I might just try to get some sort of anti-slip pad underneath there to meet it at the bottom, so to speak. There's just a small, you can't really see it there, but there's, right there, there's just a small gap there because this cup, where it gets large here, it doesn't allow this to sit all the way down. So if I just put a small little buffer at the bottom there, I think it'll hold that thing really solid. So that's where we're at. I think that's it.